South Park Snow Day saw its last DLC as part of the Season Pass released not too long ago. Today we're going to take a look at this add-on in a little bit more detail. Nichole's Homebrew, as mentioned, is part of the Snow Day Season Pass, or you can buy the add-on separately. This is the new game mode that was advertised at launch, and it also gives a purpose for Nichole in Cooper Keep. You will need the game updated to the October 2024 version, as this update adds the game files needed to the game for this DLC to work. Of course, you will need to buy the DLC or the Season Pass to activate them. Once the DLC is active, instead of going to the war table to start a campaign mission, go over to Nichole, who is stood near Henrietta on the far side of this hub area. When you interact with her, you will see the campaign missions, but with some alterations. These being Air Superiority, Laser Swords, Super Pissed Off, The Floor is Lava, and Cred Check. There'll be 2 options per campaign mission, but you'll only be able to use one of these stated homebrew modifications initially. To unlock the other, you'll have to beat a different campaign mission with a homebrew active. Just to explain, this add-on will apply to you and your party. If you're playing solo, only you will have the effect. Enemies don't seem to be affected. So let's go through each of these in more detail, starting with Air Superiority. And this gives a similar effect to the Moon Shoes card that you can get at the start of the mission in the BS trial. However, it's not limited use. It can be useful if you're surrounded and you want to get away from enemies quickly. However, if you're going for an aerial attack, you're very likely to overshoot your target. Ranged weapon attacks are double damage, but close range melee is halved. If you play mainly using ranged attacks, then this may work for you, but it's only really useful defensively for those close combat players. Laser Swords are similar to the Moon Shoes card in that it is a permanent fixture throughout the mission playthrough. With Laser Swords active, I have noticed that you move much quicker than you normally would, but also seem very vulnerable to any attacks. I found myself using the healing totem much more than usual. Because of the Laser Swords, whichever melee weapon you choose, it's much stronger than usual, but the Laser Swords will of course replace that weapon. However, your ranged weapon becomes some form of mind control, picking out an individual enemy and lifting them into the air. This modification is useful if you play close combat. If you play ranged, there isn't really much you can do in terms of enemy damage with the mind control, but it can remove some enemies temporarily if your teammates are getting surrounded. Of course, this mind control will replace any ranged weapon you have selected. Next up is the Super Pissed Off rule change. With this, your pissed off meter will increase faster. This includes when moving with an item or even when downed. When this meter is full, yes, you can still use your powers, or leave it and it'll cause a massive explosion, which again is good if you're being surrounded at the time. However, after the explosion, you will become extremely vulnerable without any way to defend yourself temporarily, as you'll go into a temper tantrum. This rule change is only really useful if you're in a squad and you're assigned to either crowd control or you're someone who uses powers a lot, such as a healer. The Floor is Lava doesn't change anything with your attack weapons or powers. The game plays as it normally would, however there is red confetti on the floor acting as lava. Stepping into it sets you on fire, but when on fire you will move twice as fast. You will of course need to go into the deep snow to put yourself out, but it can be used to its advantage to get across areas of the map quicker. As this is an environmental change, you can use this to your advantage by knocking enemies into it. It also makes you think about taking alternative routes within the level, as some main paths are blocked and you might not be able to make a jump directly over the lava. The final rule modification is Cred Check. With this, crash into the Cred balloon to reveal a bottle of Cred. Drink it and this will give you a new power. You can press the right arrow on your controller to use that power, and it can vary from a bubble shield to lasers, supersize to cheesing, just as some examples. You can break as many of the balloons as you want, but you can only have one power active at a time. This is extra to the 2 powers you assign yourself in the hub. If you pick up another bottle of Cred before this extra power ends, then it will be greyed out but will be ready to use once the previous one has expired. This can make you completely overpowered and your hits do some serious damage. If I had to rank these rule changes in order, of course the best would be Cred Check, as it just simply makes you that much more powerful, no matter how you play the game. The next best, in my opinion, would be Super Pissed Off, simply because you can spam down powers to defeat enemies, or heal you or your teammates. Yes, you do become vulnerable for a period of time, but that is only small in the grand scheme of things. The floor is lava is more of an environmental change, as I said, but it does bring its own dynamics. And it also makes you think about gameplay and ways to play each level slightly differently. It also makes you look for alternative paths through the level. In fourth would be the laser swords. Yes, you do move quicker, and if you play melee, then not having a ranged weapon won't really bother you, but you do get downed a lot. I would say air superiority is the worst. If you're playing solo, it seems a little pointless, and even in a squad it can have the same feeling. Maybe it could be better if this affected enemies as well, or was combined with the floor is lava as a multiplayer mode. But unfortunately there's no PvP in Snow Day. So that's everything with the new game mode in South Park Snow Day. In my opinion, will this mode save the game? No. Could it bring back players for a brief moment? Possibly. It could be improved by maybe adding a new mission, or even allowing you to select any of the modifiers instead of giving you one and then you have to unlock the second one, both of which are locked to the mission. Giving players the option of which rules they want would give more variety and possibly more replayability. Let me know your thoughts below, and if you haven't already seen, there are other Snow Day videos on the channel. All of them are linked in a convenient playlist.